Okay, so this is a little memo to myself, and this possibly might go on YouTube as well. But I was reading Ecclesiastes, one of my favorite books. I know some people think it's so depressing, and it kind of is, but at the same time, it kind of gives me comfort in a certain type of way. I noticed in Ecclesiastes 2, from 4 to 9, that Solomon talks about himself, right? So it's not just talking about himself, but he's talking about, like, he's saying, I built myself. I made myself. I built myself houses. I made myself gardens. I made myself water pools. I also gathered for myself. And he said also, like, so I became great. The thing is, it's kind of like, how do I say it? You can see that he's kind of seeing himself as his own God in a way, if that makes sense. He's making things for himself. And it's not just like, oh yeah, I'm going to treat myself a little bit. He's more like, he said, I'm going to chase like pleasure. I'm going to chase like vanity. He didn't say vanity at first, but he said, I'm going to chase like pleasure. He says, therefore, he said, I will test you with mirth. Therefore, enjoy pleasure. But surely this was also vanity. After a while, after he did all these things for himself, he built himself these things. And he's never really talking about how he actually did things for other people, if you get what I'm saying. So I feel like that shows more and more like how when we make it about ourselves, it starts to get like way worse. Like, we're meant to serve people, and most importantly, we're meant to serve God, because really, when we're building things for ourselves, it's vanity. It's really not going to last long. And honestly, like, what I mean, like, lasting long is when he's basically saying, like, no one's going to remember this. He's like, the person who's going to be after me is going to really take all of this that I labored for. And it says, for there is no remembrance of the wise, then of the fool forever, since all that now is will be forgotten in the days to come. And how does a wise man die? As the fool. It's kind of like, you're working for all these things, right? You're working for yourself first and foremost, and no one's still going to remember you. But I feel like if you're working for God, way more people are going to remember you because you're actually serving God. And like, we remember Abraham because he did things for God. Yes, he did serve himself in some ways, but he did things for God. We remember Moses because he did things for God. And honestly, I don't think we remember Solomon that much as Abraham and Moses and of course Jesus, because they did things for God, and in turn God did things for them. It's serving both ways. But when you only serve yourself, I feel like Solomon is really not even serving as like a like God honoring Solomon. And that could be wrong. I really could be wrong. I'm not saying that God doesn't honor Solomon, but I feel like in this term, in this book, is more like, I don't think God is really showing that, like, yeah, Solomon honored me, so I'm going to honor him. It's more like Solomon honor himself, and I'm going to show him as like a warning, what you shouldn't be doing. But like Abraham, Moses, even I don't know if I want to say that one. I was going to say Jonah, but I don't know. But Jesus, of course, Peter, Paul, they all served God. They all served God, and in turn, God served them. So I feel like the remembrance, right? All of them die at the same time. They all die, but the remembrance of them, I feel like, actually does exist. People do remember them. They are written in, of course, the book of life, and also in the Bible. Solomon, he's more of a warning, in my opinion. I feel like he's more of a warning of what happens. He's just like that guy. He's like the OG, where he's like, yo, like, I lived this life and it wasn't good, and now people don't really remember me for the right reasons. We remember him for being low-key a hoe.
No. Oh, no.
He had like a lot of wives, concubines as well. I think it was 700 wives, 300 concubines. And like, low-key, like, in a way, I would say, like, was it what they say, gaudy? I think that's what it's called. Like you just like big expensive things and like just pleasure driven. And honestly, like we don't really have the best opinion of Solomon. The only thing that I really hear that's like great about Solomon is like his wealth and his wisdom, and that's it. And honestly, like his end, from what we've seen in the Bible, he was caught worshiping another god and he died. And it's kind of like, yeah, like I don't want to live like Solomon. So I feel like Solomon serves as like a big example of what not to do. Yes, he says to serve God in Ecclesiastes because that's the meaning of life, to serve God. And I feel like we serve God, and out of that also, it's a pro, but that's not the main reason why we work for it. But we serve God because we should be. But in turn, like since we serve God, God is so gracious and he's so loving that he'll serve us, and that he'll serve us as well. It's a back and forth. It's a love relationship. It's not just a servant master relationship, even though masters are supposed to serve, or are supposed to be good servants as well back to their servants. But it's like a friend relationship, and yes, God is our master as well. And like I said before, the master is supposed to actually serve the servant as well. It's supposed to be love. And that's what God is. God is love. God is patient. God is kind. And God is very gracious as well. He's giving us what we don't deserve. So, yeah, that's just like a little Bible study thing that I was just reading about it. And honestly, I don't even know if I'm going to post this. I probably will. But yeah, I hope someone took something out of this. I'm not like a pastor or nothing like that. But it's just something that came across my mind. So yeah, appreciate y'all for listening. Whoever watches this, and yeah, peace. About to go hoop. Alrighty, peace.